Welcome back to the Real World Podcast, everybody. We are still stalling for time before we have to take down the beast that is Firefly. We're done with X-Men. We're until Legion, obviously. We're done with Batman, as might be DC forever. So we're just kind of kicking it for a while now. And we know our niche. We know where our bread is buttered. Where would that be, Mike Thomas? And also, how are you?
Our bread is buttered with 1950s French cinema, but we do like to branch out on occasion. We are not beholden to the new wave. We will wave whenever we want. And so we are branching out into comic book movies, as I believe they're referred to, colloquially, that is, a word I can say very well.
Apparently.
And we are looking at Hellboy and Hellboy 2, The Golden Army today.
We are.
To answer your other question, I am okay, once again. 2 weeks in a row of being okay.
Wow. 2 podcasts in a row. No podcast last week. Matt decided to do things that weren't talking on the internet about avant-garde cinema extensively.
You're more of a Francois Truffaut guy. I'm more of a Jean Renoir guy.
Yeah. But we all like Un Chien Andalou, so, we meet in the middle. All right, so, as Mike said, it's Hellboy time. I guess we just figured here's some not Marvel, not DC, not Fox, not Sony superhero comic booky type movies. Yep. So we're gonna do Watchmen next time. Right now, it's Hellboy.
I mean, it's interesting because that's literally what happened. I was just kind of like, what are comic book movies that we could talk about that I find that I would like an excuse to rewatch? And that's basically how I suggested this. But also looking back on it and rewatching them, kind of like we could have totally just retconned this into, let's look at something that was happening at the same time as all these other ones and was really, really revealing about tastes and trends and was interesting and in some ways, and then just been like, oh, yes, we planned this all along. But no, we just really need to fill some time.
Yeah, just kicking it. Please, Legion, finish soon. Not that you're not excellent.
Or are you?
Well, spoilers, everyone, but I think it's pretty fucking good. Yeah, Iron Fist, not so much. Anyway, no, I like Iron Fist, just that first episode's real rough. So, Hellboy is a weird one. Kind of, I guess the first one, Hellboy, 2004, so it kind of predates the enormity of the superhero buzz. Obviously X-Men had come out, and, we've done all this. If you want to hear the history of comic book movies, go listen to the original episodes of Mike and Matt's Excellent Adventures.
But at the same time, I think it's noteworthy to point out that this came out before, as best as I can recall, even Spider-Man 2, let alone Batman Begins. I mean, this came out a year after the second X-Men movie. In retrospect, when it comes to the comic book explosion, this really is before the big explosion. And even the second one predates the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as best as I can recall. So, by a month, mind you, but still. So it's kind of remarkable in that this kind of happened and then has gone away. Maybe remarkable is not the right word, but definitely something worth thinking about. And
it's very interesting. They almost missed their window. They were too early. I mean, obviously, it's hard to compete with the big guns now, and, you can look at the films that try and fail, but I feel like the audience generally would be more receptive to these films if they'd come out in, say, 2014 and 2018 instead of 2004 and 2008.
And the other interesting thing is, let's say you just, at random, just pick any 2 Batman movies, any 2 Superman movies. There's a good chance if you just pick 2 from, they'll be wildly different in tone, in humor, in style, things like that. And that makes sense because it's Batman movies have been made for 27 years. Superman movies have been made for close to 40 years. You pick the only 2 Hellboy movies, and they're both kind of, well, there's obviously very familiar and similar because, for reasons we'll get into, they're wildly different in tone and style at times.
Yeah.
And the remarkable thing is it's literally the exact same creative team both times. So it's fascinating for the time it came out. It's fascinating for what it reveals about the studio influence on big budget movies,
Yes.
and then the removal of studio influence on big budget movies, and the pros and cons of both. And this ended up being way more interesting. I ended up having way more to say about these two films than I reasonably expected going in.
Yeah, they certainly are quite infamous. Like, I don't actually know what the general public perception of these films is. I know, obviously, like for insiders like you and me, Mike, they are renowned for sort of going through developmental hell like 3 times. Well, twice, I don't know. 3 times, yeah. I think it took them 6 years to make the first one. So,
and with the third one, like, it was only confirmed in the last month, I think, that they decided we're definitely not making a third Hellboy.
I know, after like it really ramped up.
9 years.
Rather than just not addressing it, they're like, hey guys, we're not making it.
I'll let you know.
Oh, shit.
It's just fascinating. I think, to me, this is my experience with in terms of general perception. I don't. There's not much of a legacy to them. I don't think.
No.
This is not like some sort of flash in the pan that people go, "Oh my god, what if?" or things like that. Like, I don't think it stayed in the public conscious all that much. But I think at the time, the first Hellboy was kind of seen as like, hey, not too bad, solid, different, serviceable. You know, you could do a lot worse for your summer fare.
Yeah.
And then the second one came out and did very well critically. You know, it was the summer of the Dark Knight. It was Iron Man was coming out. I think Golden Army came out in the spring, maybe late winter. But regardless, I think they. I remember specifically reading the New York Times review and just being like, "Wow, is this movie supposed to be like great or something?" Like, it was. People really appreciated for how different it was back in 2008.
And from watching them both back to back tonight, because I'm bad at scheduling, I think they're actually, for me, they, in the same way that Deadpool is, even though, you know, we had our argument about how much it does or doesn't break the formula, it is nice that they're kind of different.
Yes.
I would say. Even if... I like them both. I like the first one a lot more than the second one. I don't understand why the second is more acclaimed, but they just have this B-movie sensibility to them. They're like a little bit campy, a little bit hammy, but in a good way. They don't take themselves too seriously. They're just fun. They have a cool, offbeat energy to them. I really appreciate that. I wish there was something like this to compete in the space with Marvel and others. Like, not that I obviously I love Marvel, like anyone who knows me knows this, but I would like it if there was something more sort of B-level out there as like an alternative.
It's interesting. I after watching both movies, and I saw them basically over the span of 72 hours this week, my reaction was very much, these movies are fascinating. I enjoyed the experience of rewatching them. I wish there was a third one. And yet I don't really care about them, nor would I I couldn't possibly generate much enthusiasm to recommend them to anybody.
I'd probably recommend the first one.
I would like
for people who've never seen it at all.
I would recommend them to people who are just very, very into comic book movies.
Yeah.
I would not recommend them to someone who's just kind of casually.
Yeah, probably not.
Because I don't think there's enough there to recommend, and I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm just like, I love being in this universe, even if the stories they're telling are not particularly satisfying or thrilling or even funny. Like, I mean, especially in the first one, it's kind of like this weird thing where Ron Perlman is great as Hellboy, but he's not really given great things to do. And
he throws himself at it, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then like so many of his jokes, I'm just like, wah, wah, wah.
So I think that kind of fits him a bit. He is kind of like this sort of lame uncle.
Yeah, it fits his character, but I don't know if that's... I think they kind of want the second movie for that character to be there with... Yeah.
Like they were shooting for cool, and
in the first one, like they were shooting for Cool Uncle, and it's weird. It's weird, and yet the first one I think is definitively better.
Yeah, so do I.
It's this, like I said, I think I could really talk about this one these two movies for a while, because there's such a contradiction in so many ways.
Yeah, I like it, but it doesn't give me
I
that.
like them, but they're not good.
Yeah, and they also don't give me that like enthusiasm. I'm not like, Hellboy, but I like it, but it's also kind of bad. But
yeah, and like the first one is like this really compromised vision, artistic integrity had to really be sacrificed just to make the movie. But it's way better than the second one, where the artist had complete freedom to do whatever he wanted to do. It's just like,
well, like, okay,
I don't know.
Let's pull it back a little bit here.
Yeah.
So, have you read any Hellboy? I haven't, and actually reading about the character as like pre-research for this and watching the films, it actually makes me really want to get into the books, and I hear them absolutely excellent.
No, if you came across ones you thought were particularly good, I would check them out. But
well, there's only like
no.
Well, I'm going to say this and be immediately wrong. I think there's only like 60 or something issues like ever.
Yeah,
and I think there's some miniseries as well. But like, yeah, it made me curious, certainly. And I think the first film is largely based on like the first major arc. So I don't know. I might see if I can find that at some point. So like. Yeah, I had no real concept of the character before the film existed. I don't actively remember like the first time I heard of Hellboy or whatever, but I do remember seeing it for the first time and being like, this is kind of cool. Like, I like the universe of Hellboy. Yes. I almost like the concept more than the execution, which is why I'm interested in the comics. Like, you've got this kind of like occultness, like European folklore, biblical stuff, prehistory stuff, Lovecraftian tentacle monsters. Like, it's an interesting sort of area that it plays in. I think that actually, I think Guillermo del Toro got a bit lost in that in the second one, but that's for in about 20 minutes time. So Hellboy 1, basic plot is Rasputin working for Hitler. Yes, we're there already. Opens a portal to try and bring these giant tentacle monsters into the world to destroy everything, which is somehow good for Hitler. In doing so, he brings a tiny demon baby thing comes into our world and is adopted by World War II soldiers who call him Hellboy, obviously. And 60 years later, he works for like the FBI's secret paranormal institute in New Jersey. I think the institute actually changes city in New Jersey between films. I think it's like Newark in one and Trenton in another, but who cares? Yeah, Rasputin comes back. He's manipulating Hellboy to try and open the prison, bring forth the tentacle monsters, kill everything. It's fairly generic, but I think the life of it is in, well, largely Ron Perlman just absolutely hurling himself at this performance, this like visually striking character of Hellboy. The colourful characters around him, like Abe Sapien, voiced by Niles Crane, David Hyde Pierce, in a weird little situation that we might talk about. Just, yeah, the character-driven aspects of it, I think, are the real strength of it. Like, there's nothing, like, mind-blowing in terms of directing or script or anything like that. It's just, I think the Hellboy character and I think Abe Sapien as well are both incredibly engaging. I really like the sort of Nazi assassin dude, Cronin or something like that.
He's fucking awesome.
He is.
That needs to be stolen for something way better.
I'm a sucker for like a silent assassin type character, and like I love how he enters scenes like at the edge of a shot and like no noise. He's just like when he kills John Hurt. Spoilers, everyone. He's just walking down these stairs, and in another film there'd be like 4 cuts quickly with dramatic stinger of music, like, oh no, he's here, but it's just a long shot and he's just coming down these stairs. And it's just so menacing. I love it. Yeah, so like these wacky characters I love, and sort of the props and the costumes and stuff like that. I like all of that a lot, and I like big tentacle monsters, but yeah, there's definitely some problems in there. Yeah, I don't know, like what's your like initial take on Hellboy 1?
You can see the compromise all over the place. I think one of the strangest things that really stuck out to me this time was, like, this is a movie about a demon monkey that came into the existence through, like, a series of ridiculous portals, like interstellar portals. And the FBI guy in charge of the paranormal division's like, Bigfoot, huh? And, like, making, like, dude, like, there's a fucking alien you're talking to an alien, you're cracking jokes about conspiracy theory nuts. I just like, they just kind of like wanted that false sense of, I don't know, just cynicism there. And
well, the FBI agent has to, of course, be skeptical.
Yeah, I just like...
There is a man swimming in a tank next to you that can read minds.
Like there's a fish fucking dude who is a psychic, and you're making... Like, I just like... I don't know, that just reeks of, like, you want a shitty... I don't know, it just felt very, very silly.
That being said, I really love Jeffrey Tambor's performance throughout. Like, it's silly they give him that beat, but I think he's good at everything. But
yeah, and I mean, what's funny, we'll get into it when we get into the other one, but he's basically it's like Ian Malcolm in the Jurassic Park movies. He's basically playing a completely different character in the second movie, but with the exact same name. Yeah, you can't convince me that's the same character. But
hey, he teaches him to light a cigar. They bonded, damn it.
Yeah. Here, you know, he's playing really, really cliche, a cynical bureaucrat who's in charge of a red monkey and a fish man and a flame girl. Two characters that you did not mention are Liz Sherman, who is playing the Human Torch, and Rupert Evans, who is playing Rupert Evans.
That dude is milk toast.
Generic. He is our gateway. He's the
audience.
He is Ellen Page in Inception. He is just simply there for us to.
He's going to design a maze that Leo can't solve in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah. He is simply just there so people have an excuse to explain things to us.
Yes.
It's very, 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 very generic.
He accepts things quite quickly as well.
Yes. You know, like, there's so many issues with this movie, and I think the two big ones to me is I think they didn't realize what they had in Abe.
Yes. Abe was fucking awesome.
And they really minimize him here, all things considered. And they rectify that in the second one for sure. But I was disappointed he wasn't involved in the final mission.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked this little mini team they had with John Hurt, Tambor, Hellboy, Abe, the one milquetoast FBI agent we know, some other FBI agents. Like, I just thought that was kind of like this cool concept.
The guy with hair plugs. Yeah.
Yes. Corey Johnson, who plays like that guy in countless roles.
Feeds Hellboy, gets killed.
Yes. So it was just one of those things where I was like, I kind of really like this concept. You know, I am a sucker for ensembles, and I felt like they kind of discarded that very quickly in a variety of ways. I think by far, and this, again, it's my second issue, by far the best part of the movie to me is the relationship between Hellboy and John Hurt. And we basically come into the movie with them fighting and not speaking to each other. Yeah. And thus, we don't really get to see their relationship all that much.
No, and like, he's keeping his cancer diagnosis from Hellboy, but then he dies. He gets murdered anyway. So that was kind of, he won, like, the old sage cliche. Like, he's usually walking around like he's going to die. So I guess it's nice that he actually was going to die, and it doesn't feel quite as trite in that way. Yeah,
but their relationship was clearly kind of like the backbone of my investment in the story, and they didn't really get a chance to fully explore that much at all, really. And then he dies.
But like Hellboy, like, casually calling him dad constantly, I really like that. It's a very subtle touch, and I don't know how intentional it was, but it humanizes the giant demon man.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was his father, clearly, for all intents and purposes. Like, that was the man who raised him. And that becomes even more clear in the second one, in case it was too subtle in the first one. In a scene we will discuss at great length.
We will.
And then, so I think that's, like, to me, my big... When I think about how this movie failed, I go back to those two factors right away. It's just like, they had this great father-son dynamic that probably could have carried them to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And instead, they go for that middle act turning point, and they kind of move on fairly quickly.
Yeah.
It's hard to kill somebody mid-movie, give it the impact it deserves, and yet still keep the movie going. I think Dark Knight pulled that off actually pretty shockingly well in retrospect, but it's a hard thing to do, and I don't think they quite did it here. But yeah, I think so. It's hard. I don't want to come off just like talking about the flaws right away, but this felt like such a misfire in the sense that it should have been better than it was. But
well, you say how I didn't mention those two characters, and I think there's a very good reason for that. I think what even is his name? FBI agent.
Agent Myers.
Myers.
There are things that go bump in the night, Agent Myers.
Yes.
Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, like
Myers that bump back.
Is so. Yeah, like you said, he's literally just a blank slate there to like get explained to. The thing with Liz is, I really don't think there wasn't enough time to develop that, because Hellboy obviously loves Liz, always has. Liz kind of loves Hellboy. Myers seems to love Liz. Liz seems curious about Myers, at least. And like they do the scene where Hellboy's like stalking them while they're on this coffee date, and like ha ha ha. But it doesn't breathe enough, because they tell you a lot, like how much he loves her and all this, and it ends with this very lovely scene where he says he's going to cross over to the other side and bring her back to life or whatever. But it just, I mean, I feel this is our go-to answer. It feels like this should instead be a mini-series where like you get to know these characters over time and then you earn that moment. But I understand it's a 2-hour film, and not everything can be a mini-series as
yeah. You almost would think that it would be better if she was completely on the sidelines here, maybe one scene, and then they can explore it in the second one a little bit, where they could actually do her character justice, because this kind of felt like, I must have got like a compromise vision. That being said, I actually really like Selma Blair in this first one.
Yeah. Much
which
more
is
in the first one.
Yes, which is notable for how I feel about her performance in the second one. It's kind of a trite, kind of like that tortured, damaged girl role. I'm not saying this is a role that we need to prop up on some pedestal or anything like that, but I think she does it pretty well and humanizes it very well. And her motivations for being intrigued by Myers, by
even you forgot his name,
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And her questioning, like, okay, yes, like I probably deep down love Hellboy, but he's also like the only person who can like physically stay alive and be with me. So like, am I limiting my options just by that?
Yeah. And I like that Myers is able to tempt her back with just the normalcy of just you and me in the back of a taxi.
Yeah, and that makes sense and all that. I think this Hellboy Liz relationship in both movies, like,
it's
super
in the second one.
Bad and unhealthy for both people.
Yeah.
Particularly Liz. It's that line at the end of the second one where she goes like, "You're the best man I've ever known." It's like, no, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's really not. He's not better than Abe, and Abe's right there. Like, he's barely better than the elf guy, and the elf guy's trying to kill the world. Like, I mean, like, Hellboy is kind of a creepy asshole who is overly possessive, treats Liz like it's his right to her, and he's a 60-year-old man-child in a lot of ways. And the movie's biggest problem is that they don't know how to approach that honestly while also making him the hero. Like,
yeah, it is part of the character. Like, he is supposed to be mentally younger than his chronological age, like the way his body matures versus how old he is in terms of his overall lifespan. Like, he is supposed to be youngish, but like it is problematic when you then cast him here.
Yeah, and I think maybe if they told a different story with their relationship, that would be less of a problem. It's, I mean, like, if Hellboy recognized like he's just being like a creepy ass the entire time, and he's like, he chooses to like not be with her for those reasons to get like, or makes it clear.
Yeah.
And
if
like
he
gives
checked
her the
himself.
Yes. If he gave her like the space to actually make decisions ever, it would be a lot less creepy. But
instead he gets what he wants by acting like he does.
Yeah. And he's like, all of his bad behavior is constantly reinforced positively. It's kind of a nightmare in that way.
And Myers just looks on, super hurt puppy dog at the end as they just kiss while on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
It's kind of bad. That's kind of bad.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like Logan and Jean Grey, where it's just like
Yeah.
they're not supposed to be together.
They're
like
not.
it's okay that he's being creepy, but you're pretending like he's not being creepy.
Exactly. That's the difference. People are creepy. Tell that story, but don't say, "Oh, he's not creepy. This is totally fine."
Yeah. It's like Emilio Estevez in St. Elmo's Fire, like stalking Andy McDowell the entire movie, and this is supposed to be seen as romantic or something. Like, stop that.
Well,
stop that.
Let's be real. If people did in real life the things that are considered romantic in films, like that's call the police behaviour, most of it. There's this guy on my lawn with a boombox. Can you make him go away, please?
Yeah. Let's stop putting that up on a pedestal. But
speaking of problematic female characters, Rasputin's girlfriend felt very unnecessary. Like, what does she do?
I completely forgot about her.
Exactly. It feels like a cut plot point almost.
Yeah, it's she's so forgettable still. Like, honestly, I've completely forgot about her since the last time I saw it. I forgot about her since finishing this movie yesterday.
Yeah. She doesn't fight anyone, she doesn't advance the plot, she doesn't unlock anything, she just stands next to badass Nazi assassin while he does stuff.
Yeah. It's bad.
I mean, I guess he doesn't talk, and I guess she says one thing, but, like, it wasn't, like, a necessary line. It was just weird.
Like, compare that to someone like Anck-Sunaman in the first two Mummy movies. Like, if you kind of think about it, it's basically the exact same plot in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right down to the man-child getting everything he wants, but at least he grows up to be a nice adult in the second one. And
look forward to our Mummy miniseries podcast coming soon.
Where we will fucking ether the third one, but holy fuck. And, you know, Anck-Sunaman, like, there's a moment at the end of Mummy Returns. You've seen the first two Mummy movies, obviously, right?
Obviously.
Yeah, they're great. There's this one moment I always think back to that breaks my heart where Anck-Sunaman, like, runs away from Emotep.
I know. And his whole world just comes crashing
It's so heartbreaking.
down.
And, you know, like, it's so heartbreaking. And you think, like, what this crazy human moment from these two psychopathic mummies, essentially. And, like, you compare that with what's going on here, and you kind of just see how shallow a lot of this movie is. And when you combine it with all the other issues, you're just like, you pull at a thread for the Hellboy 1, and the whole thing kind of unravels. Yeah. There's
that
really
being
not
said,
a lot
despite
there.
all this negativity, I will again state I really like this film.
I can't help but enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's a very easy watch. Like I picked up like a used DVD copy of it, probably close to a decade ago. Definitely throw it on, probably every couple of years since. Like I've seen some special features. Like I enjoy this universe. I want this universe to be good.
Yeah. There's two animated films I haven't seen.
I completely forgot about them. I'm almost definitely going to watch them in like the next 24 to 48 hours. And maybe like I'll mention like 5 minutes of thoughts on them at the end of the next episode or something. But so this movie's pretty not good, but I recommend it at the same time.
Yeah, it's different. Like it's a bit campier, it's a bit sillier, it's colourful.
Yes.
It's less colourful than the second one, but still, it's a big giant red man and a badass blue dude.
I mean, it's also just like, thinking about it today, just like the fact that this came out a year before Batman Begins is just kind of mind-blowing in a lot of ways, because I think Batman Begins seems so long ago to me. So long ago. And the fact that this came out a year before that makes us feel almost kind of ancient.
I can't believe this is from 2004, honestly.
Yeah. Like I had to like double check because I thought that my memory must have been playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Go watch it.
It is. So I can sort of transition into the second film by bringing up a point you made a very long time ago about them not knowing what they had with Abe Sapien, because there's an interesting story behind this that I had no clue about. So Doug Jones, I think, physically plays Abe Sapien, and I think he read all the lines for him in the first film, but then was famously overdubbed by David Hyde Pierce. And apparently they were convinced that he was a huge star and would drive box office tickets. This is the part of the story that sounds made up. But he decided that Doug Jones had done such good work that he was not going to take a credit. He is not listed anywhere in those credits. He did no interviews, no press. He didn't show up to the premiere, any of that. So he kind of just does the voice, and that's it. and then he didn't come back. And then I think the studio were like so pissed about this. Well, it changed studios, which we'll talk about. The creative team were kind of pissed at David Hyde Pierce for doing that when they, for some reason, bet on him. So he's not in the second one, and it's Doug Jones voicing him. And also because that first one really didn't make all that much money, I think Sony dropped it and were like, Hellboy's not a valuable property. And then Universal were like, yeah, it is. And they made an even more expensive one that made even less money. And that's called Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. There you go. That's not even really a transition in the end. But now we're talking about it, so suck it. This one I didn't see until long after it came out. Like, I had seen Hellboy 1 a couple of times. I was like, yeah, I like Hellboy. And then hearing there was going to be another one, I was like, cool. But I don't know. It was not a year to see Hellboy, apparently. And
yeah, I saw both of them in theaters, actually.
Oh, really?
And my immediate reaction to this in 2008 was, this is stupid. It is like, this is not a perfect comparison, but this is like if the follow-up to Batman Begins was like Batman Returns.
Okay.
It's not that, or maybe even Batman 89. It's not that it's...
It is that, because Tim Burton went full Tim Burton for Returns, and Del Toro went full Del Toro for Hellboy 2. Like, this is Pan's fucking Labyrinth in the middle of this thing.
Yeah, like, this movie is a mess from a story perspective, from a character perspective. If you care about movie-to-movie consistency, it really might as well be a different universe.
But it's fine, though. Myers is there to hold it all together, right?
Oh, you sent him off to Antarctica because... Oh, okay. Yeah, they wrote Myers out. IMDb claims it was due to a play commitment. I'm not convinced of that, but whatever.
Yeah.
People...
Everyone's worse. Everyone's different.
Everyone's worse. Everyone's different. I actually like the villain more.
Yeah. Villain from Blade 2.
I kind of like was watching... As I was watching it today, I was kind of like fanficking like a little like, how could they could have done this better? Because this is kind of a pretty cool idea.
You mean him constantly asking of Hellboy, like, should you be fighting for humans? Or just him generally?
Well, just in general, I like this idea that they're these two like twins, caught like immortal twins, immortal elven twins who like literally feel each other's pain, and they're at... But that was a really cool idea. The fact that this elf probably is right, that his people were oppressed, gives him a lot more of a substantive motivation than I'm a Nazi sympathizer who is using Hitler's money to draw demons from space to destroy the world. Like that. I mean, like...
God, the plot of Hellboy 1 is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty dumb. It's almost weird in that movie, which is so much more grounded in a lot of ways, has a far more ridiculous plot.
Yeah.
Or like conceit for or far more ridiculous motivation for the main character.
Yeah. Well, the second one is like high fantasy. Like there's elves everywhere, there's weird fucking creatures, and then also Irish stuff.
Not only are all the characters like played by the same actors, but seem completely different and performed way worse almost across the board.
Abe looks different to me as well. I don't know if that's just me.
A little bit.
He looks faker somehow. Yeah.
But this bigger issue to me is like in this first movie, they're basically operating in this weird world where like Hellboy, Liz, and Abe are the only three weird things about the world.
Yes.
And the fact that there are these like time-traveling immortal Nazis is kind of like also just kind of an outlier in what is otherwise the world that you and I know it to be. In this movie, it's like they've been living in this secret fantasy land the entire time, where it's like the Men in Black world where, deep down, like the world's fucking crazy. They have, their own bar scene in Tatooine with the Diagon Alley fucking people, and it's really, really just
the dwarf market or the troll market or something?
Yeah, I was just calling it Diagon Alley.
I saw what you were doing. It's fine.
Yes, thank you. That was very clever. It's like I said, the only way to describe it is like it's like completely different people made the movie.
Yeah. And yet,
It's the exact same fucking people.
And in fact, the writer of the comics actually helped co-write the script. And like that first one, it follows on for some famous Hellboy like arcs. This second one is just Guillermo del Toro was like, "Hey, I love this universe. Let's see what I can make up for it." And the guy who wrote the comics helped him, and yet it's like so far divorced from Hellboy. Yeah. It seems like loosely inspired by some stuff from Hellboy, but.
And that's not the end of the world, mind you. Like we've talked about a lot, like universe continuity should not be the priority. Good movies should be the priority. I do firmly believe that. But it's one of those things also is that when you don't have a good movie, all these other things become a bigger problem.
Yeah. I don't hate this. I don't even know if I think it's bad. It's just a lot less good.
It's weird. I think the biggest part is that all the performances seem off.
Yeah.
Selma Blair forgot how to act
in
the 4 years since. I don't know. Maybe she's just much better portraying that tortured, emo, fragile, broken woman thing, which is, once again, not necessarily something we want to prop up, put on a pedestal as a character caricature. But
she is often the Selma Blair, though. Like the Selma Blair roles I know, she's always like she was in that first one.
This is like a little bit of a spunky Selma Blair with an attitude.
Team leader giving orders to people.
And they have this. Her and Hellboy are firmly in a relationship, and they're like just bickering the entire time.
That's so weird to me. Like Abe like gives you this sort of exposition of it. It's like, oh yeah, they've been fighting a lot because they're in a new relationship. And it's like, yeah, but something seems just really strange here.
Like they just have this super unhealthy relationship that we're supposed to think is healthy or something. I don't understand it. But
do you know what fixes a broken relationship, Mike?
Babies.
And
she's pregnant. Doug Jones does the voice of Abe. It bothered me less this time.
Yeah,
it's
just slightly less charming.
When I saw it in the theater, I was fucking outraged.
Of course,
I was just like, "What the fuck is this?"
I'd my Niles Crane.
Yeah, no, that is not my Niles. # not my Niles Crane. It gets some getting used to once again, and we're going from a Hellboy where the world is just what we know the world to be. In this one, the federal government recommends this ghost monster to be their fucking team leader about 30 minutes into the movie, as if
it's not that he exists. It's that like Jeffrey Tambor's calling him Sir. I'm like, wait, what? Why are you doing this when one film ago you barely believed in what was right in fucking front of you?
Well, it's more that like if they made it seem like, like Jeffrey Tambor was the complete idiot, not just for not believing what's right in front of him, but like the whole world's actually like this. It's more just like, yeah, we didn't think of it yet. And like that character Johann Strauss, he's actually pretty fun. Yeah. I think he adds some life to the movie. Seth MacFarlane does a pretty good job. Seth MacFarlane's good at voices. Like I like his voices.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Like whatever else you can say about him, and there's a lot. Like I think he actually is pretty genuinely good at voices. Mm-hmm. The ghost monster was turned into be a really creative for the fight scenes, which is great because it makes the Hellboy movies stand out, especially compared to Hellboy himself, who's rather brutish in his fighting nature.
He does just punch everything.
Yeah. Johann Strauss was kind of like a welcome breath of fresh air. And I wish they kind of came up with more, like they need to do a little bit more with him. But anyway, he's probably the one thing that's not actively worse, but he has nothing to compare it to.
I do like the villain like you do. I would say that.
Yeah,
he's got a cool like fighting style and gravitas to him.
Yeah, he kind of nailed it's very much a Marvel villain where they have like a semblance of a genuine motivation, but in reality, he's just the bad guy.
He's literally just rolled out from Blade 2 and played the same character, but he's not a hobo, he's a prince.
Yeah, it reminded me of something like... It reminded me of something like who would be a villain in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie or something like that, or Thor.
Yeah. Well, it's like Mala something from Thor 2. Chris Eccleston. Visually, it's basically the fucking same design, but...
Yeah.
But cooler.
Yes.
I like that.
Jeffrey Tambor is
like...
playing a completely different fucking character. He is just playing a completely different character. Yes. Now, with that in mind, when the first one was written, it was not written with Jeffrey Tambor in mind, no, and apparently he was a very, very late replacement, which also makes me feel better about a certain special feature I watched at the time where they're doing like a behind-the-scenes shot, and Jeffrey Tambor just kind of casually makes a joke, oh, there's an actual script for this? And at the time, I was like, "Oh, Jeffrey Tambor is just an asshole who thinks this movie is beneath him." But no, he was actually a very late addition to the movie. Yes. Jeffrey Tambor, I apologize for my occasional internal thought that you were an asshole for the last 9 years. Yeah, he's just playing a much more comedic version of himself. Ron Perlman's performance goes down like several notches here. Yeah. He's playing a much hammier version of himself. Doug Jones just isn't quite as good.
Nope. I don't like the love storyline. It just doesn't. It feels like they're trying to their attempt to make him a bigger character. They were like, slap a love story in there. It's like, yeah.
It's like, we should do more with Abe. Great. Give him a love story that makes him seem like a complete idiot.
Does read 4 books a day, but he is an idiot.
Yeah. Everything about this movie is worse. It's so jam-stuffed with every crazy idea Guillermo del Toro has ever thought of.
In terms of
wacky
and the golem and the big tree monster and the weird dude with like a city on his head or a castle on his head or something at the troll market. It's very like Pan's Labyrinth parts of it. That being said, I really like the little elf palace or whatever it is where the villain goes to kill his father. It's all golden and visually it looks very different. It's jarring because it doesn't look anything like the first film, but in a different film maybe that would have been a cool I think.
We probably should have just started with this, but you kind of know this movie is going to be bad or off after the very first scene. Our only look at John Hurt in this movie is a flashback.
Him and a very tiny old woman, well, not old woman, a tiny adult woman playing a creepy-looking young Hellboy.
And this 8-year-old Hellboy is one of the most annoying kids in the world.
Yes.
And 2, just sets the complete... I mean, it sets actually an accurate tone for what was to follow.
But I really like that animated, exposition thing. It reminded me of Deathly Hallows, but it predates.
Yeah, Deathly Hallows totally stole it, but it's great.
Did it better, but it's a very cool scene. That whole this is what the Golden Army is scene, but then it's ruined by annoying young Hellboy.
Yeah, he's a total annoying brat. I mean, of course he would grow up to be even a more annoying brat, but
sure,
this time it's with a high pitched voice, so it seems more annoying here. Mm-hmm. John Hurt's great. Love John Hurt. Rest in peace. Child Hellboy was kind of awful, and I wouldn't say the movie never recovers in the sense that it was that bad. It's more just that's the tone for the rest of the movie. Grating and loud, which is not the best combination of qualities to have.
Yeah.
Again, I just have this indescribable infatuation with Hellboy, despite having no investment in it overall as a franchise, as a character, as a comic. I just watched these 2 movies. I'm just I could watch these movies probably every couple of years.
Yeah, they're really fun. Well, yeah, they don't get bogged down in anything. They move quite quickly, I think. There's a surprising amount going on in that first film in just 2 hours. Yeah, I really think they just... they have confirmed they're not going to do a third one, but I really think they fucking should. I think now... You obviously don't call it Hellboy 3, not... Because, when you slap a number on something that hasn't financially done well, that just isn't wise. You almost treat it as if it's a new property, but you don't retell the story or anything. I'd love for them to do more, and I would like to see those animated films. Then I do want to read the comics, and I would say if you've sat and listened to us talk about 2 films you haven't seen for best part of an hour, you need to assess your life, but you should go watch them.
Yeah, I think it definitely... You bring up a good point that right now comic book movies are so dominated, really by Marvel, but then also right below it, Fox and DC, that there's really no room for these kinds of movies. And it'd be nice if there were, but it'd also be a lot easier to advocate for them if these 2 were good. Like, these two are just like these gems that everyone's been ignoring unfairly.
I think that first one kind of is. Like, I know there's a lot wrong with it, but overall, I do still think it's good.
It reminds me of like early Marvel movies where it's like, this is a fine origin story. There's too much wrong with it to be like, these people are being oppressed by the fact that they don't get to make more movies. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I just think it's like a good little, like, maybe Iron Man isn't your bag, maybe you're not a huge fan of Captain America or whatever. It's like, well, try this. Like, it's different. It's a less tapped into...
equally read, but less funny.
It's just a corner of fantasy that, like, isn't used as much, and I think it has a different tone. Like, again, I'm just going to compare it to Deadpool again. Like, I think that is the best analogy, because I know that does fall under the Fox umbrella, but it really, public perception was that Deadpool's this separate entity that just came along and was just like, bam, Deadpool, here you go, casual people who are sick of hearing about comic books. Like, I know someone who didn't know that Deadpool was in any way related to X-Men. Just thought it was this completely original creation or something. I don't know, but yeah, I think people should, if they haven't seen it themselves, watch Hellboy, and if they have friends who haven't seen it, tell them to just try something different. And like, maybe we're not going to get a Hellboy 3, but I'd like it if some smaller companies looked at a Hellboy type film and were like, okay, let's try something of that vague nature.
Yeah, and you know what, I think something smaller, and also just like make up your own superhero at this point.
Yeah, fuck it.
Eventually we're going to run out of ones already established, so you might as well just like make something as weird as fucking possible, like fucking Hellboy.
You know, there's like 500 X-Men characters, right?
You know what I mean, though. But I'm saying, like, it's like you eventually reach a point where you've run out of brands that are actually of any value before they're released into movies anyway. Like, you might as well just go all the way and just be like, we're creating our own crazy universe, just when we're going to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And that's probably what this could have been.
Anything anymore, so...
But Guillermo del Toro, I just don't...
Yeah, I'm
not a Guillermo del Toro guy.
I'm not down for a full Guillermo. Like, I like Blade 2 more than I like Pan's Labyrinth.
My memory is Pan's Labyrinth is fucking amazing. Blade 2 is my least favorite Blade. So, we might need to do a Blade episode.
Yeah, we probably are going to need to. I think he did Mimic. I think I like Mimic as like a...
I heard it's good. I haven't seen anything
intentionally
pre-Blade
shitty
2.
Like 90s horror type thing.
What's the movie with the Jaegers?
Jaeger. Oh, Pacific Rim. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking terrible.
I like the idea of that more than I like that.
The acting in that one. Oh my god. I really need to rewatch.
Thought he was too good for 50 Shades of Grey.
But he's bringing Macklemore to King Arthur. It's going to be great.
Your fixation on Macklemore is unhealthy. Speaking of things that are unhealthy, this podcast in general continues to truck on, and our next topic will be Watchmen. That's what I meant by unhealthy, not just this podcast. So yeah, as we just tackle alternate superhero films, we're going to take on maybe the most controversial one there is. I don't know.
That's not true.
Yeah. What's the most controversial one there is?
I don't know, but does anyone still care about Watchmen?
People are like, you mention Watchmen, and some people get pissed off.
I will say, I think I told you this, I probably have already said it on the air,
I know
the greatest joy of my life, I'm going to say it again.
Okay.
Just go up to someone who's a big fan of Watchmen and say, the movie paid too close attention, was too closely adapted from the book. Just watch the fun unfold after saying that.
Yeah. So I'm going to dig out my copy of Watchmen and read that by next week, and also watch the film, I guess. Yeah, and then we're going to talk about it. And I feel that's going to be a bumpy conversation, so look forward to that. And in the meantime, support this podcast. Tell your friends. Tell people you don't even know. Yell in the streets and get arrested because you are just screaming at people to go listen to the Real World Podcast.
Click on our list. We make lists.
We do make lists. Oh, man. Did we ever make some lists? We ranked all the Batman. We ranked all the X-Men films. The feedback on those are very different.
Yes. And next week we'll rank the Hellboys. It's going to be an extensive list.
Okay. I think we were actually going to rank something else, and it's not going to be Hellboy. But we'll maybe do some more stuff like that. Yeah, check out the written content. We will continue to supply more at this rapid pace we have built up. And more podcasts to come. Watchmen next week. I believe Legion will be following shortly after that. And then it's Firefly time!
Just in time for no one to be able to watch it on Netflix.
Oh shit, when's it going off Netflix? Is it off now?
A week.
Shit, I don't actually own it on DVD.
8 days a year.